And at 10, Endoskeleton. The excuse we get in the original FNAF game as to why the animatronics are attacking us is because we look like a naked endoskeleton and they want to put us in a suit because it's against company policy. First of all, why would you program animatronics in a pizzeria to try and enforce company policy, especially at night? And why would they directly come after us if that's the excuse? Like, why would they come all the way to the security room? But the main issue is, why aren't they attacking the naked endoskeleton, sometimes visible in the storage room? Bonnie will sometimes even go into the storeroom while the endoskeleton is in there, but nothing. Why is it that it will attack us, but not it? It's also violating company policy, isn't it? I mean, maybe because it's in the storage room it's fine, but then again, why wouldn't we make our way there because it would be safe, and why wouldn't they tell us about that? The explanation we came up with is because we look like William Afton since we think we play as Michael. But if we go off my theory that we play as Henry since Michael may not have been old enough, that doesn't make sense. Plus, even if it's because we look like William, that doesn't explain. And at number 9, why Phone Guy? If the animatronics are really after us because we look like the man who killed them, why do they attack Phone Guy? And why do they kill him on night 4? This is what originally made us think that Purple Guy was the Phone Guy, since this seems to mimic what we see in the FNAF 3 minigames where we see William get spring-locked. But Scott confirmed that that wasn't true in the Ultimate Custom Night April Fool's update, so why did they attack Phone Guy? Is Phone Guy actually Michael Afton and he doesn't actually die? Or do the animatronics get some form of code update before we become the night guard so they aren't attacking because we look like an endoskeleton in an effort to avoid what happened to Phone Guy happening again? Because a lot of good that did. You went and hired someone who looked exactly like their killer. Smooth move, bro. And at 8, how did Baby get ejected? So we know that between the events of Sister Location and FNAF 6 that Baby and the rest of Ennard get into a lover's spat and then Baby gets kicked out of Ennard. But like, how does that work, really? They were all tangled together, right? So did they just remove the parts that were Baby and then kick her to the curb? Or did they just remove her soul and place it into another endoskeleton? If they did that, how did that work? Like, how did the actual process of ejecting work? It's really confusing to me because she ends up getting a whole new body and Molten Freddy is left as basically a puddle of parts, but then he grabs a Freddy face and calls it okay. Like, what the hell happened for that to work? It's so confusing and it's unexplained, it's mysterious. I know that they had a fight and I know that she got kicked out, but how did they actually physically remove her from the Ennard tribe, I guess? Scott, explain! What do you mean it's Arkansas? And at 7, Charlie. The original FNAF novel trilogy had a big plot twist at the end. In the FNAF novel The Fourth Closet, it's revealed that the main protagonist, Charlie, was actually the third in a series of 4 robots that were a recreation of Henry's daughter, who was killed at an early point in her life. However, the final version was incomplete and could also switch between looking like a real human, so much so that another character wanted to make Whoopi with them, to looking like Baby, you know, like the actual Baby animatronic, thanks to pins located around Baby's body like we see in the games. I've used this as evidence for another theory before, but we've never stopped to really ask how she's able to look so realistic. And it's a big point, because this is the same argument people use to try and debunk my theory. How does the skin work? In the novels, it's revealed that she actually has fake blood, which makes sense since, you know, if you get cut and you don't bleed, someone's gonna get suspicious. I hope. Which means the skin should be able to bruise. But where did this technology come from? It's so realistic, someone wants to see all of it, yet it's still fake. How is this possible? But more so, it also helps in my theory proving that my scenario is entirely plausible. I'm not moving from my stance that Michael Afton, or the Big Brother, in the games is a robot version of Crying Child created after Crying Child dies. In whatever happened, because obviously what we see isn't actually what happened. Because, like, there's no way Fredbear chopped it. And at 6, why is Purple Guy smiling? The Foxy Go 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 mini-game was another piece of evidence for the Phone Guy is Purple Guy theory, since Phone Guy loves Foxy, and in this game we can see Foxy run out to a group of dead kids where Purple Guy is smiling beforehand. But since we know Purple Guy isn't the Phone Guy, why is he smiling? Is it a coincidence and he likes Foxy too? Like, Scott wouldn't do that, right? Or is it just that William is pleased with watching Foxy find another set of missing kids? There is no clear-cut answer anymore, and that's just honestly concerning. Like, there has to be a reason, right? Or is this just so old now that we can or have to ignore it? Since Scott knows the story he wants to tell now, like Matt Pett said in his video about the full timeline. Or is this still of significance that we need to keep in mind when looking at everything in the future? Is it because Foxy was the last of the 5 missing kids to die, so William had developed a style and had gotten comfortable at that point, so he was proud of it? Were those 5 kids killed in the same way that Fritz, the spirit that possesses Foxy, was? I don't know. Halfway through and in number 5, Disassembled. In FNAF 1, we only had 5 animatronics to worry about, and no convoluted story. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Golden Freddy was our cast of characters, compared to the over 50 that appear in Ultimate Custom Night. However, even out of all 50 plus, Golden Freddy is still the most interesting and mysterious. In the first game, he had no endoskeleton. He seemed to just be a floppy suit with 2 glowing eyes that somehow was able to teleport through walls, and some believed to be able to cause hallucinations like the infamous "It's me" text and "Eyeless Bonnie," along with changing posters on the wall and generating news articles that show us more lore. But how? And why? Why is he so limp? The amount of jokes I could make for that. Is his endoskeleton the one in the storage room, and why was it removed in the first place? Was it for cleaning or something? Because let's be honest, if the animatronics are leaking mucus and blood and smell like death and don't get washed, I doubt that they'll be cleaning Golden Freddy. Some think that it's because he caused the bite of 87, but there is evidence for other characters as well, and nothing has been confirmed. So, why? And at 4, what brought him back? We all know that William makes his way to the FNAF 6 location first out of all the animatronics, but how? It's not like he got an email saying, "Hey, my old pal William, how about you come to this new Fazbear location that your kid opened? It's gonna have plenty of potential victims." And he didn't get a flyer sent to him, so how was he called back to this location? How were any of them called back, really? I know that he could have brought Lefty back because he had programmed her, but what made William, Molten Freddy, and Baby come back? Was it similar to the green bracelet for the puppet? Or was it playing those sounds like in FNAF 3 or in the vents in this game? How close did they have to be for them to hear it? Is it some sort of circuit thing that he could activate inside the animatronics with a remote? We don't know, and I really want to. And 3, Special Delivery. The animatronics from Special Delivery were supposed to be friendly, basically being a nice way for the company to rebuild their image. But then, they send out angry animatronics that try and kill you. Why did they think that was a good idea? And I get that they were hacked by the AFTON virus, but there is plenty of sus things going on in this game. Like, why, if the company was trying to rebuild its reputation with these friendly animatronics, have they not shut down the project after I'm sure they've gotten emails and stuff about the animatronics going rogue? And why the absolute hell did they include versions of Springtrap, a character that we know thanks to the man in room 1280, everyone knows is guilty. They have multiple versions of him as well, the normal one, the toxic one, and the curse, which is a recent addition as far as I know. They literally named him the Curse. It's... what? Just remove him from the program. Why would I want to order a literal killer? Is this the same thing as when like girls say that serial killers are hot? Because that's also messed up. Like, how am I supposed to compete with that? Actually, there is a solution. I'll be back. And at 2, in-universe games. Thanks to Help Wanted, we learned about a series of games that were made by an in-universe version of Scott Cawthon. This guy supposedly made the games out of the situation and ruined the reputation of the company. However, we then hear Tape Girl say that Fazbear Entertainment paid Scott to make these games. But we've heard so much about these games, but don't know what these games are. Some people think that it's the FNAF 2 minigames, others think the FNAF 6 minigames. There is a possibility that Security Breach is one of them, or FNAF AR, but we don't have a serious answer. Nothing is confirmed, and it's a big issue. Also, I know that it's not actually Scott, but he doesn't have a name yet, so I'm just gonna call him Scott. He used his own picture, it's what he gets. What do you think the in-universe games are? Do you think that we've seen them, or do you think we have yet to find one in-game? Let me know below, because I'm very confused and might need some help. Finally, in at number 1, GLITCHTRAP. GLITCHTRAP is the main antagonist of Help Wanted, and is William Afton's consciousness in the form of computer code, thanks to his agony allowing him to possess a hard drive at the end of the Man in Room 1280 from the Fazbear Frights book in the flesh, that then gets scanned to help make the AI in Help Wanted. But he was never meant to be in the game. However, for someone who was never meant to be in the game, he has a huge impact on the final minigame. He doesn't make any appearances in other games, but he shows up in Pizza Party at the final scene, and is present while we were all inside the Fazbear costume. He dances on the floor in front of us while we're stuck singing a song, but how is he able to do that? How does he open the curtain? How does he put us in the suit and then dance around happy that he did it? He wasn't meant to exist, so how can he interact with a virtual world? We can't even move the curtain if we manage to break the boundaries and touch it, so if our hands pass through it, why don't his? We were meant to be in the game. He wasn't. And how is he able to make a whole stage for himself when he attacks us? It doesn't make any sense, unless he was meant to exist in the first place. Minute 10, the power of love. The immense agony generated when you hear me sing. The immense agony generated when you get killed is the fuel behind how possession works in the FNAF universe. This makes you think, if agony is the most powerful emotion in this world, what do the other emotions do? Or rather, where are the other emotions ranked? If agony lets you possess animatronics among other things upon death, what would emotions like anger and love do? And what is the second most powerful emotion? How far does it radiate? Do all emotions just allow you to possess things, just other emotions are less likely to do so? Like, how does it work? I want to shout out the YouTube user that left the comments on this video that brought this to my attention, but I can't find that comment for a second time. So, I don't know if it was deleted, but if this was you who left the comment on the previous Tiny Details video, thank you so much. These things are getting really hard because I'm running out of details and I'm relying so much more on the comments section. So if you have any tiny details I have yet to talk about, please, I cannot stress this enough, leave it below. It doesn't even have to be, it doesn't even have to have like bigger implications. Okay, just something that's small, just please. Thank you for your help. In a night hiding place. Throughout Sister Location, we're constantly being talked to by Baby. At first, she wants to help us, at least it seems that way, and then we get scooped. But before that, she mentions that someone crafted one of the cupboards into a hiding place, but who did that? Was it one of the technicians? Was it the man from the Fazbear Frights book? I mean, I don't think it would have been because he kind of got stuffed with mini-arenas. And I mean, the technicians are killed at the end of the game, but were they freshly filleted or were they there the whole time, only being revealed when a light was shining on them? Who knows, really? Maybe it was Baby who made that hole so we would trust her, or maybe it was William hiding from the wrath of his daughter. I mean, she had to be mad at him, right? Why else would she be haunting him in Ultimate Custom Night? Sure, he regrets what happened, but she surely blames him for the situation that she's kind of stuck in. She was clearly in agony since, you know, she possessed Baby, and William was 100% avoiding her. I mean, you don't just get shut in a room and not be avoiding your daughter, right? Parents know. And it is Shadow Animatronics. The Shadow Animatronics really don't have an explanation, even after all these years. We still just have a couple of ideas as to what these are. Some think that Crying Child is Shadow Freddy, others think that they're employees that ended up getting killed, either by the animatronics, William, or the spring-lock suits. Since the two Shadow Animatronics are Freddy and Bonnie, who we know have spring-lock variants in the games thanks to the phone guy dialogue. But where did these Shadow Animatronics come from and where did they go? Cotton Eye Joe. Did we release them? Are they still after us? Were they ever really hostile? The whole Shadow Animatronic situation was kind of forgotten over the years, and while it may not be an important detail, it's still something I'm curious about and I still want to answer. And it's 7, Lorekeeper ending. I talked about the FNAF 2 minigames in another video or list, but what I'm really wondering now is about the FNAF 6 minigames, Fruity Maze, Security Puppet, and Midnight Motorist. These games, while not a big part of the game, are required to be beaten for the Lorekeeper ending, meaning that they would have lore significance. I mean, they obviously do, because we learn a lot from them, but how and why are these secrets hidden inside? The Fruity Maze ends up gory and trailing blood, with William Afton and presumably Susie in the reflection. But like, how can we see the reflection if we're the ones playing? Security Puppet recounts the origin of the puppet and how Henry's daughter Charlotte died. And Midnight Motorist recounts later that night, after William had killed Charlotte and returns home. But how did these little secrets get put into the game? Was it Henry? Was it someone who knew the story of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza? Are these the games that were made by a rogue indie game developer? And are these games even real? Or are these sections just hallucinations or memories and they don't actually exist within the game? Are we just having flashbacks or is this all real time? I don't know. And genuinely, it scares me. And it's 6, Ballora glasses. In the Fazbear Fright story of Room for One More, we see a girl steal a pair of glasses that show her a dancing Ballora when she puts them on. It starts off sweet, but as we know, these animatronics don't mess around. Eventually, Ballora starts getting closer, basically just coming in for a kill, and in an effort to atone, the girl returns the glasses to their owner, only to have her daughter get caught by Ballora. The actual story though isn't important, so if I messed it up, please forgive me. What I'm really looking at here are the glasses. These glasses help this girl see Ballora when nobody else can. And this reminds me of something that we've experienced in the games, the Nightmare Animatronics. Could it be that instead of the illusion sound discs that we've been thinking caused the Nightmare Animatronics, that it was actually these glasses? And yes, I said Nightmare Sound Discs intentionally because I saw a comment that said please say just illusion discs. So no, illusion sound discs. You can't tell me what to do. Scott himself said that these stories would help us solve things from the games. So what if Crying Child was wearing these glasses and that's how he saw the nightmares? It would explain why he wouldn't call for help because he knew that nobody else could see them. And I doubt that they would have put on the glasses if he had asked. Plus, it would also explain why Michael knows what the Nightmare Animatronics look like as an alternate explanation to my he's a robot crying child theory, which I'm sure plenty of you want at this point. Halfway through it at number 5, Premonition. Now, I'm not talking about real psychic powers here, but what if the ending of Security Breach was pointed out to us way before even Sister Location was released? That's right, I'm talking about FNAF 4, baby! The stomach mouths of the animatronics is always assumed to be because Crying Child saw Elizabeth get scooped. But what if it was really foreshadowing the events of games to come? We know that Gregory will hide inside Glamrock Freddy. Perhaps while we're in there in first person, we will watch ourselves get crushed, helpless. That would be fun. However, I want Chica to be the one to step on me. I mean crush me. Yeah. Crush me. And at 4, Glitch. Continuing on Golden Freddy, how does he have these powers? How can he move in and out of the office at will, basically moving through walls and causing weird hallucinations that give us issues for 7 years? Yet we still don't know how it's possible. This should, in reality, be incredibly hard to do if not impossible, because even in the FNAF world, this kind of thing is hard. Is this what the other emotions can do, or is this agony stretching so far that they can move through solid objects and hide from our vision? Why have we not tried to figure this out? We kind of just accepted that he can do this and then we moved on. Like, what the actual hell is this little freaking goddamn golden bear? Is he a bear? Yeah, he's a bear. Like, he can just come in and out whenever he wants, crash us to the desktop, and then laugh as we have to reboot it like he just loaded Skyrim for the 40,000th time without mods. Like, where did this man come from? Getting close to the end in number 3, Investigation. I talked about the police and how nobody seemed to bat an eye in a previous part, but I want to be more specific and find the real reason the police didn't investigate more. We know they did investigate thanks to the phone guy calls and Juniors from Midnight Motorist, but why didn't they investigate the smelly, oozing animatronics? The bodies were in there and they would know to investigate, especially when the place got shut down because the animatronics started oozing and leaking mucus and blood. Blood! How do you not look into that? Are you telling me there wasn't one single cop who didn't find that suspicious? There is no way the cops would have put 5 missing children's cases to bed that quickly. Yeah, the first 48 hours of a murder investigation are the most crucial. Same thing with missing persons, but they don't usually give up after those 2 days. It's so weird, and it makes me think that William had to have someone in his pocket. That's the only really questionable thing that I'm really stuck on. Like, why didn't they check the bloody suits? It makes 0 sense from any perspective. In a 2, Scene in the Shadows. During MatPat's Big FNAF livestream during the FNAF 4 days, he ended up getting clues from Scott Cawthon himself via the Scott Games or FNAF World website, I can't remember which one. One referencing Chica's beak, one talking about 4 games, 1 story, and then one saying what is seen in shadows is often misunderstood in the mind of a child. And since Scott has since debunked Dream Theory, what did this mean? Did he originally intend on Dream Theory being the correct answer, then changed his mind? Because, you know, that's pretty Scott. Or is there still some validity to this clue that we haven't explored yet? I mean, we originally assumed it was the scene where Purple Guy puts a head on a coworker in a suit, but is this referencing something else now? Did Crying Child see Elizabeth get scooped in the shadows, making it really look like there was a stomach mouth and some weird alien tongue that grabbed her? Hence the stomach mouths on the Nightmare Animatronics? Or did he just see it directly and that's why they're there, and this is referencing something completely different? I mean, it would make sense, but Sister Location hadn't come out yet, right? I don't know anymore. My brain hurts. Finally, in number 1, Henry's death. There are currently 2 deaths that we know of for the character we know as Henry. Once in the FNAF 6 fire where he stays while it burns so nobody will remember this place, but also once in FNAF World where he gets killed by Baby. However, if he died in the FNAF 6 fire along with Baby, how did he die in the FNAF World cutscene? There seems to be a simple explanation. Actually, they are the same thing. That room that Henry was in that cutscene must have been a room in the FNAF 6 building that we just didn't know about. Maybe the safe room that we heard so much about until FNAF 3 when we just forgot about it. That scene was basically a flash forward to the FNAF 6 location even if we didn't know it at the time, where Baby kills Henry before they're both engulfed in flames. She either killed him due to rage or the fact that Henry called her Elizabeth. Or cut her off in the ending because, yeah, that would make me go nuts too.
And be full.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name, but I'm afraid you've been misinformed.
In its 10 animatronic bite, we all know the story of FNAF 4's 8-bit minigames and cutscenes, where a crying child ends up getting chomped in the mouth of the Fredbear animatronic thanks to his older brother and his friends putting him in there. I proposed a different idea that not many people seem to appreciate, but thanks to the comments of one Thanos Snap on a previous part, it helped me realize, how did Fredbear manage to crush Crying Child's skull enough to put him in a coma? We originally believed that it was due to a spring lock failure since we saw someone wearing the suit in a previous part, but what we forgot about is that while on stage, Fredbear isn't in suit mode, it's an animatronic, so the spring locks were already all in place, and there wouldn't be any way that it should be able to crush his skull, and the chomping force of the mouth is going to have to be way over regulation to be able to cause the amount of damage we see, and if the suit was capable of that, nobody would wear it. There is no feasible explanation that allows what we see on screen to be the actual scenario where Crying Child dies, so how did this actually happen? And does this go to only further enhance my explanation of this scene? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments and maybe we can work this out together. Into 9 Paper Pals. The Paper Pals are a group of paper plate versions of our favorite animatronics. Well, a couple of them. In FNAF 2, we can see paper plate versions of Bonnie, Freddy, and a human-looking one that might possibly be Balloon Boy. And while these may be crafts made by kids at the restaurant, or they might sell kits for you to be able to make these at home, where did the originals come from, and how can they move? In FNAF 2, the human-like Paper Pal can actually move from Cam 4, where it's originally found, into the office. And in FNAF 3, the 3 Paper Pals can do the same thing, using this teleporting mechanic seemingly at random. How can they do this? How can paper cutouts teleport between rooms? Is it a hallucination or something else? I don't know, and it terrifies me. Imagine all the paper cuts this thing would give if it jump scared you. Ow. Tail Trap. This was mentioned in the comments of one of the Funtime Foxy Facts lists by a user that I could not find the comment of twice, so I apologize. I really need to take note of this stuff. Anyway, the comment suggested that Funtime Foxy's tail could be where its containment chamber for the kids is collected. You know, like the containment chamber for the kids would be in its tail, which is an interesting idea, and it would give a reason as to why Foxy all of a sudden got a tail in sister location, but the beginning of the tail is so small that it would have to really squish the kid down to the size of like a Toblerone bar before actually getting to the wider part, so it's unlikely, but still something to think about. It's an AFTON virus. We know that William is a virus at the moment. After dying in the man in room 1280, he possesses a hard drive that gets scanned into FNAF VR Help Wanted. We also know the virus gets uploaded to special delivery thanks to the special delivery emails and the aggressive nature of what was supposed to be nice animatronics. However, why did the virus get uploaded? Who uploaded it? Well, thanks to the emails we aren't supposed to see, we learned that Vanny, the antagonist of the upcoming Security Breach game, is the one who's uploaded the virus, and I mean it makes sense. She's a follower of AFTON, even if it's reluctant. However, with the various versions of Springtrap in the game, could this virus be to blame for them? Especially Toxic Springtrap, who is the signature purple of the infamous purple guy who occupies the suit. Was Toxic Springtrap the original attempt to escape the video game world? I mean, the AR game is the closest we've gotten to having FNAF animatronics in real life, and Scott isn't one to be afraid of being meta. I mean, he was the final boss of FNAF World after all. So could William's real plan to be to escape into our world? And would that tie in with the new Joy of Creation Ignited collection that Scott is helping to fund? Since in that game you play as Scott Cawthon, and the animatronics are coming after you in the real world. I don't know, it seems possible. In its sixth fourth child. A lot of people seem to fixate on Clara from Sister Location's Immortal and the Rest list for a proxy for Mrs. Afton, the mother of the Afton kids, since she talks to a vampire meant to represent William, whose name is Vlad. However, the theme of the show is Vlad constantly denying that the baby is his. Clara, the baby isn't mine, even though the baby can turn into a bat and sleeps hanging upside down. But what if there is more to that than just being a proxy for William's wife? Because I doubt Clara would be the name of the character and the name of the mother if William's character is named Vlad. What if this is secretly revealing that William has a fourth child? One that hasn't met a terrible fate yet. One that perhaps William didn't believe was his when his wife told him. So much so that he divorced her on the grounds that she cheated and he got the kids. A simple paternity test would reveal that he is the father, but he could claim that they were faked, like how Vlad denies the child being his, even though it's literally a vampire. And William is well connected, so bringing a trial would be easy cheese. He has to be well connected to not have been actually thrown in prison. There has to be something going on. Now, who could this secret child be? This may be a stretch, but what about Gregory? Unless we go off my theory that in FNAF 1 and 2 we play as Henry, we've only played as characters of the Afton family until FNAF VR potentially. So what if the fourth child is the one we play as in Security Breach, and that's why Vanny is trying to capture him? Or more realistically, what if Vanessa is the child, and that's how William was able to take control of their mind? They're related. Only time will tell. Halfway through number 5, where's the puppet? The animatronic known as Lefty was designed as a mechanism to capture the puppet, and does so prior to its appearance in FNAF 6. However, when Lefty jump scares you in both FNAF 6 and Ultimate Custom Night, we can't seem to see the rest of the puppet inside Lefty other than the arms. Realistically, the puppet's face should be in Lefty's head, but it's not. In fact, Lefty has something blocking the bottom of its head, the rest of its skull, making it separate and a sealed piece. So what the hell? Where did the rest of the puppet go? Is it inside the body compressed? Because the proportions, if it's not compressed, are all wrong, unless it got damaged in the FNAF 3 fire, which caused it to shrivel, since we know that the puppet was there. Which would have been a terrifying animatronic, so it sucks that we didn't get to see that. But still, I doubt Henry would have let his daughter's vessel get compressed inside of Lefty. So what the hell is going on here, and where's the rest of the puppet? And then for Gregory. Continuing on Security Breach, what connection does Gregory have with anyone else in this game? I mean, he could be the fourth child, it's unlikely but possible in a way, but how on earth does he have a watch that connects to the security cameras of the place? Does he get it in the security room? And who would leave a piece of tech that would be so useful to anyone they're trying to stop out in the open? Right for the taking. Was it Vanessa? Does she know she's compromised? I mean, she does in Special Delivery, but is Ness the Vanessa we're thinking of, or is it just a name meant to confuse us? Because Scott's done that before. I don't know anymore. I'm sad. Take the multiple uses of the name Jeremy. What is that, dude? And at 3, hallucinations. The hallucinations from FNAF 1 are their own story too. Where did they come from? Is it Golden Freddy? If it is, why do we need to see them, or why do we see them in the first place? Are they actual newspaper articles, or are we just fully hallucinating? Is this real life, or is this just a fantasy? Caught in a landslide, escape Golden Freddy. But seriously, why are we seeing these things other than it being important to the mystery of the game? Is there something more going on here that we haven't discovered yet? Is Golden Freddy the one changing these articles and posters, or are we somehow doing it ourselves? These hallucinations, or whatever they are, have some sort of explanation behind them. I just need to know what that explanation is. And it too, just an illusion. FNAF Sister Location is probably one of the most popular FNAF games to date, with plenty of fan favorites like Funtime Freddy, Foxy, and Baby being added, as well as the new fan art favorite Ballora. However, is what you see really what you get in this particular FNAF game? Well, it's a good question, and you may be thinking, Connor, of course it is. What are you talking about? You're dumb. And if you are saying that, I'd like to direct you to when we have to repair Funtime Freddy in Sister Location. As we open up his chest cavity, we can see a weird disc, something that's being described in the books as being able to create illusions using sound. And it seems to be flashing red. They call it a power module, but there is no way that that little disc is a power module. And if it's one of those discs, could it be changing the look of everything? Hell, this could have taken place in the basement of a goddamn shack, and we wouldn't know. It's pretty scary to think about. Finally, in at number 1, Mrs. Afton. We don't know the identity of Mrs. Afton. We don't even know if there is a Mrs. Afton, or if she was just a baby mama, or hell, if William's kids are just adopted. Most people draw a connection between Mrs. Afton and Clara from A Moral and the Restless, so much so that people believe Mrs. Afton's name is Clara. However, I propose the idea that could explain what happened to Mrs. Afton, and it makes a great amount of sense. The Fazbear Frights books were meant to help explain bits of the in-game lore along with making Scott more money. Take the book Bunny Call with the story The Man in Room 1280, which I keep going back to, but this time I'm talking about the story 1:35 AM from the book of the same name. This story revolves around Delia, who has recently gotten divorced from her husband, heartbroken because she never got the family that she wanted. She comes across a garage sale that has a doll that looked exactly like the daughter she had envisioned. She buys it and finds out that it's an alarm clock. Then, much like an actual baby, instead of waking her up when she wanted, she ends up getting woken up at 1:35 AM every morning. It gets so bad she runs away and hides in a factory ventilation shaft where she waits until she dies or suffocates. That's a really brief synopsis, but let's look at the parallels between Delia and Mrs. Afton as well as Delia's story. Delia's parents died when she was young, so she was put into the foster care system where she was bounced around from family to family, but also was continuously abused. Eventually, she fell in love and was ready to start a family until her husband divorced her, which could be the case between William and his partner. We have no evidence as to what happened between them, so we can only speculate. Delia never managed to get the kids she wanted, and Mrs. Afton, assuming she was still alive, didn't get the kids in any form of divorce or court hearing, since we see the three of them living with William in FNAF 4 and Midnight Motorist. And then the surrogate daughter for Delia is a possessed doll. We learn she is possessed in another story where Phineas Taggart needs it to study agony, much like how William's daughter Elizabeth ends up possessing basically a giant robotic doll. The connection is somewhat loose, yes, but certainly more solid than Clara, since she was just talking to a purple-suited vampire about having his kid, and Vlad was denying it, despite it clearly being his, but still. Perhaps both of these stories combine together to create the story of Mrs. Afton. Not to mention the next story in that book is about the mini-Renas, who are meant to be Ballora's surrogate children. And who do people think that Ballora either represents or is possessed by? Mrs. Afton.